Hello, everybody. I hope you're joining the conference and having a good time there in Dubai. My name is Ehsan Sirjani. I'm an Iranian lecturer for EFL at University of Nizwa. I am also doing my PhD at University of Tehran, focusing on gender studies and cultural issues. For today, I'm going to give a presentation about the most important elements of selecting appropriate materials, focusing on gender representations. Is my screen visible for the others? Is that clear?
It's clear. I'm online, but it's clear to me.
The screen
okay.
is visible, but the speaker is not.
Yeah, I can see the speaker on my side.
Do you have
Go
my
ahead,
voice?
There
Ehsan.
are two participants in the room in Dubai, and I can't see them, but please continue.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly now? Does
Perfectly.
it work?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Ehsan.
Okay. For today's presentation, I'm going to focus on, in the beginning, I'm going to give an introduction about this topic, and then I'll go through a historical overview. Then I will talk about the materials and resources which are available, focusing on course books, evaluating course books, and the concluding marks. To begin with, I would like to start an introduction about the most important elements of selecting appropriate materials. One of the key challenges for English language teachers is choosing the right materials for the classroom. As English learners grow and develop academically and linguistically, they rely mostly on the materials and resources provided by the teachers. English language learners may rely on teacher-provided materials because they can review them later at a more convenient time. For instance, some students may be hesitant to ask vocabulary or language-related questions in classroom because they fear of appearing slow or behind among their classmates. Students generally admit that teacher-provided materials and resources are legitimate and should be trusted. This is a fact among the students and even teachers. This is another reason that the selection of materials for learners is so important. There are many components surrounding selecting appropriate materials and resources for English learners, including time, cost, level, and need for approval or oversight, according to research. Teachers may know precisely which materials they would like to use in class. But if they are costly, unavailable, the level is not appropriate, or even unlikely to be approved for purchase or use by the administration, they will need to explore other options. There are many components surrounding selecting appropriate materials and resources for English learners, as I just mentioned, according to Richards 2001. Historical overview. There is a vast amount of English language teaching materials available now, perhaps more than ever in the history of ELT. And this is due to a great part because of the internet and online resources and huge coverage, which provides ELT materials. This situation has not always been so. The appearance of different types of materials can be matched to historical developments, both within English language teaching and in society in general. It's important that teachers have a general understanding of the development of materials in English language teaching. Their choices and decisions relating to the use of resources and materials need to be underpinned by a consideration of the thinking behind them and the view of language and language learning associated with them. It is not sufficient, for example, for teachers to just say that I like this activity because it works for my students, or because my students like this activity or this course book. We as teachers also need to know the answers to the questions like, what are the learners gaining from these materials? And what are the principles underlying its use? A question to think about is this one. Okay, what materials and resources are available today? In this chapter, I will initially consider course books as they are usually central to a scheme of study for most teachers and learners. However, there is a very wide range of other materials, resources, and aids potentially available to teachers. Actually, actual availability will, of course, depend on the context in which we teach. Some examples of materials and resources other than course books include people, books, authentic materials, and machinery and technology. I think in the photo it's clear now that the resources which are available for teachers and learners are not limited to only course books today. Okay, focusing on the course book. A book or series of books which aim to deal with all aspects of language and therefore to stand alone as a teaching resource, according to Cunningworth, 1995. This is a very basic definition of the course books. It is almost certainly, it's by course books, we mean a book or series of books. So it is certain that it's been written for a specific level. This is very important. Specific level and possibly also with a particular language group in mind. Usually course books are provided with a test booklet, for example, nowadays a CD-ROM, video, and there are now available, for example, the workbook exercises are available online or on a specific platform for students to do, like LMS or website. Some of the most frequent questions by teachers and teacher trainers in professional development courses and workshops are questions like, in your working situation, do you have a choice as to which? Excuse me? Somebody is talking. All right. Yeah, do you have, for example, do you have to base your lessons around the course book, or are you free to choose the materials that you use? The course book which I have selected for actually as the focus for this study is the Unlock series, books 1 to 4, which are used and taught in our University of Nizwa in Sultanate of Oman. The course books have been have been taught for more than 2 years now. We only use the books 1, 2, 3, and 4 because of the levels of our system of education. We do not use the 5th book of this series. This book is written and published by Cambridge University, and for each level there are a pair of book. There is a pair of book, listening and speaking, which is for example for level 1 for book 1, and reading and writing. So for each level, listening and speaking and critical thinking, and there is a book on reading, writing, and critical thinking. The workbook is available to students on LMS, and students need to register by their university email address or a valid email address, and they have access to a lot of other resources, including workbook exercises, videos, listening files, and so on. When we go to when it comes to evaluating the course books, there are some elements which are important to be asked. So according to Ellis in 1997, he mentions that the factors broadly refer to the material, the learners, the teacher, and the teaching or learning context. In contrast, it is difficult to evaluate a course book in a vacuum. We usually have a specific group of learners in mind when we choose or evaluate any piece of materials, and this is extremely important. We may think that a given course book is perfect for one group of learners, but totally inappropriate for another. The material. Textbooks convey sets of cultural values, which are often referred to as the hidden curriculum, according to Cunningworth in 1995, and therefore should be given more attention. I myself am very interested in the cultural aspects of the language learning, so I have focused more on the cultural points in the materials. When we talk about culture, one of the key aspects, which is very much which has been neglected in my idea, are the gender representations in EFL materials. When we talk about gender representations, we usually focus on some issues like stereotyping, estimation of females, occupation and family roles in favor of males, inequity in images and illustrations, visibility in illustrations and text, occupational roles, masculine generic constructions, occupations, firstness, activities associated with either sex. As an example, for this part, I have selected a page of the book. This is Unlock Series, 2nd edition, level 2, actually book 2, reading and writing. And the unit, actually, it's a reading text, and it wants to introduce incredible people, so students will learn more about the incredible people, and basically will be exposed to some famous people. At first glance, there is a photo of a man and there's a photo of the lady. Both of them are famous somehow. Of course, the first photo is very well known for the learners. The other one, sort of, at least in some parts of the world. And there are also 2 other short texts about Mary Evans and Singapore Women's Everest team. In order to have a better view of the text, I have tried to zoom to enlarge the text. So the text about Steve Jobs, which is on the left here, and there is also under this text in the book on the page, there is the text about Mary Evans. When I was doing this research, I asked my fellow colleagues and some students during this the research, and it seemed that there are no problems presenting this text. These are the other 2 texts. Of course, Singapore Women's Everest team as number 3 for a short paragraph. And Malala Yousafzai, this is a text with a photo about this lady, about this woman from Pakistan. But when we actually analyze this text more thoroughly, we come to the conclusion that there are three, yes, paragraphs about women, and there is only one text about an incredible man. Successful women are presented. Steve Jobs, as the first and only incredible male person, is presented using positive words and phrases like inventor, intelligent, beautiful, excellent, hardworking, successful, and a person who changed the world of technology. Intensifiers such as very and really have been used 4 times to describe him and his activities. He is also the only person whose demise was very sad, according to the text. But when we go back to the text about, when we look at the text about the lady and about women in the paragraph, there are some points which have to be taken into consideration. For example, the text about, okay, I will show it right here. Yes, about Mary Evans. If you look at the text, you can see that actually, yes, the extract is, this is a short paragraph about Mary Evans, who is presented just as a mom and is also very busy. She is described as a mother of a big family with 5 children. She has worked very hard every day to look after her family. She always makes time for everyone. She goes to hospital to take care of a nephew, and she makes sure that all of the family members have everything they need. Look after, which is one of the key words and is written in bold, has been used twice. Later, there is a short paragraph about the Singapore women, this text, about the Singapore Women's Everest team. This is a team which, including 6 women who trained for 7 years before they climbed the mountain. There are some ideas implied in the text, as in 2009, they became the first all-women team to climb Mount Everest. The women could finally achieve a success without any men's aid. And finally, there is an extract about Malala Yousafzai, who is characterized as a brave and honest young woman who went to school anyway in the conditions that Taliban made schools forbidden for the girls. The fact that she went to school is somehow downgraded implicitly, luckily, yes? Luckily and donation are words which are assigned to her in the text. It is observed that while there are more than 13 adjectives and words with positive connotation to describe the male figure who is really well known and has an internationally high status in the world of technology, there are only 12 ideas and notions to describe all 3 females in the text. So for one person, 13 adjectives and intensifiers, but for 3 women and groups of women, only 12 adjectives. In other words, all of the females' achievements and successes are overshadowed by an excellent CEO of a famous technology company. Now, another important point to make into consideration about the material of Coursebooks is culture. It is recognized that language and culture are closely interrelated, and culture is an important part of English learning. Accordingly, rich cultural knowledge will improve intercultural competence and cultural understanding of language learners. Let me just move on to the next page. Okay. Cultural representation in ELT materials has always generated debate, and a number of studies on the examination of culture within ELT textbooks has uncovered consistent biases favoring certain cultural groups over others. For instance, English textbooks in Japan show a strong inner circle orientation in the choice of linguistic samples. Okay, as an example, I have chosen again another extract from this book, which we use in our university. This is from the first book. So students who are exposed to this and use this book are students at a very low level of English competence, and they cannot easily express themselves if they have opposite ideas. And you can see it here that, for example, an extract about Australian cuisine. It's been written that if you are in Australia, you must try a crocodile or kangaroo dish. The point is that when we teach, it has come to myself, when I teach this extract in my own classes, and a student asks the question, there is not really an easy justification for the student, because it says, you know, according to according to Islamic traditions, eating this kind of food is not allowed. So when this book was written, did the writers and material writers have the target students in their mind? Crocodile meat is tasty and very good for you. I remember that in one of my classes, one student who was a kind of a naughty one asked me, why is it good for you? And there is no answer. How can I go into a conversation with a student in the class when there, you know, there are a lot of, it might cause controversial topics in the class. It's better that you eat a crocodile than a crocodile eats you. So the point here is that when we write materials for the students, these points have to be taken into consideration. Kangaroo burgers are served on a type of food. So is that really easy for students in Oman, at least, to understand, for example, it's easy to eat kangaroo or crocodile? Yes, to some extent, it is a good idea to expose the students to international culture or intercultural elements. That is something. But when we narrow it down to very specific points like these, which might cause some misunderstandings, I think it's better to avoid or expose the students in a way that doesn't affect their traditions or customs. How much time is left? Can somebody please tell me?
Okay, hi, Ehsan, you have another 2 more minutes left.
Okay.
And then 2 more minutes to present, and then leave 5 minutes for questions.
All right, okay. So because of time constraint, I do not go into the details. The point which I wanted to mention is that when we select some materials for our students, especially in EFL, course books, there are elements which are very important. The other elements include the learners, the teacher, and the learning context. I hope you enjoyed this topic, and thank you very much for your attention. If there are any questions or any points, I would be happy to listen.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for questions for Ehsan. Okay, if there aren't any, Ehsan, I'd like to ask you some questions as the moderator.
Yes, sure.
All right. So Ehsan, you said, is this study that you're doing, is it part of your PhD coursework or a PhD research?
Well, for my PhD research, I'm doing actually I'm focusing on culture. Yes, this is part of it. Yes, I can say it is included in my research studies. Yeah.
All right. So can I ask you what theoretical framework are you using to analyze the textbooks?
Actually, in University of Tehran, some professors have actually designed a kind of a rubric to analyze the course books, and I went through this. But for this research specifically, I selected 5 categories, which are visibility in illustrations and text, occupational roles, masculine generic constructions, occupation, firstness, and activities associated with each sex, with each gender.
Okay, I think my question is more like what theoretical framework, like for example, are you using discourse analysis to, because when I was listening to you and unpacking the adjectives in the text itself, it sounded to me like you were doing a discourse analysis. So I'm just curious as to if you're using a theoretical framework to base your research on.
Yes, this was more of an analysis of the course book, because the course book has been used and has been taught in my place, in workplace. So yeah, it was basically an analysis of the materials. So that was the main aim. And to extend this research, I would actually asked and had some interviews with the teachers and students in order to understand their understanding of gender bias and the choice of materials.
Thank you. Are there any other further questions from people in the room?
In the chat box, there is a question: is choosing local textbook, can help teachers avoid situations like the Congo barrier? This is another question. That's basically a very good question. While we have in-house publication for the students, sometimes the criticism is that the students are not exposed to world culture, and that is something that we do not want, because the students learn an international language and they should be culture. But I think my answer is that, or my idea is that when we write EFL materials, the cultural aspects of the materials have to be taken into consideration. One of the problems is that the course books, EFL course books, are usually written for the wrong target of the students. For example, this book has been written for students in Japan, Mexico, and Gulf countries, which is, it's very difficult to find similarities among, in the cultural aspects among these different countries. So how can this for example, how can we find similarities among Omani students and Mexican students in terms of food, culture, traditions? I hope I could answer the question.